Joe Biden had a town hall in Wisconsin last night. He is hitting the road to, I mean, I don't even know why hit the road for this, but I guess you got to do that stuff as president. We're in the middle of a pandemic, but I digress. I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but Wisconsin, important to Democrats. He went there to kind of tout his $1.9 trillion stimulus bill, shied away from saying, I'm not going to accept anything less, but I wouldn't expect that from Biden. There were some good moments in the fact that he said we need to go bigger, but there were some bad moments as well. Let's get into the good and let's get into the bad. Here he is on CNN telling Anderson Cooper that everybody agrees we need to go big on stimulus.
Committed to passing $1.9 trillion bill, or is that final number still up for negotiation?
I'm committed to pass. Look, here's some of you are probably economists or college professors or you teach it in school. This is the first time in my career, and as you can tell, I'm over 30, the first time in my career that there is a consensus among economists, left, right, and center, that is and including the IMF and in Europe, that the overwhelming consensus is in order to grow the economy a year, 2, 3, and 4 down the line, we can't spend too much. Now's the time we should be spending. Now's the time to go big. You may recall I managed the last experiment we had with stimulus, and it was no, I don't mean it that way, but it was $800 billion. We thought we needed more than that, and we think we did. It ended up working, but it slowed things up by about, and depending who you talk to, between 6 months and a year and a half. We can come back, we can come roaring.
I mean, that is he's about to say we can come roaring back in a few years. That is a shocking admission there from Biden, where he's not going to all out say that the stimulus package that was passed during the recession when he and Obama came into office was too small. But he is sort of saying it there. I mean, he's acknowledging that they kind of learned from their mistakes here. And when he said,
yeah, though it was, what did he say? Like, it was good enough, but it could have been like, that's him covering for that, not saying that explicitly.
Right. He has to hedge because obviously you can't criticize Obama in the Democratic Party. It's basically sacrilege. So he also doesn't want to tarnish his own involvement in that. So, okay, I'm fine with that kind of hedging. But the core of it is that he's saying everyone agrees we need to go big. And my critique, my frustration is that he needs to go by the consensus every single time. Like back then, people were saying we need to go small. We were listening to Larry Summers, and now everybody else is saying from left, center, right that we need to go big on stimulus. And so that's the area that I'm going to go down. That's the path I'm going to go. I don't think that's leadership. I think you make determinations based on the information that you see, not based on consensus. But
yeah, I like the idea that like all these institutions that were wrong last time, that they think that we can do more this time. It's like, well, maybe add a few more. Don't like name check the IMF maybe.
Right, exactly. I mean, he's still going back to the well, but fortunately the well's no longer poisoned. And fortunately, Larry Summers, the, maggot at the bottom of the well, isn't the one calling the shots here. There seems to be a significant rebuttal of his kind of thinking, and that goes to show that Biden is a part of that, and he's not buying the same nonsense. And part of this, though, if we can't give them too much credit, is just self-preservation, right? Because they went small on stimulus during the Obama years, and they got their asses kicked for the next 6 by the Republican Party and the Tea Party wave. So it's not fully an altruistic and an intellectual exercise where they're weighing the way that the stimulus affected the economy and affected human beings. They're also looking out for themselves. That was part of why Biden and the Democrats in Georgia push forward the stimulus checks. Not that I don't think Biden ideologically fully agrees with it, but, who knows? So I'm nitpicking there because I'm so frustrated by the next clip that it's poisoned the well of my perspective on this town hall, I guess. So that was good. this goes to show maybe Manchin has cooled a little bit on his bizarre insistence that the income threshold should be lowered, leaving 40 million fewer people without checks. So 40 million people would have gotten checks under Trump, but not under Biden. Great electoral strategy there. Part of the self-preservation that I'm talking about here. But the infuriating part is that Biden could be helping even more people by the stroke of a pen, young people specifically, also often immigrants who are preyed upon by for-profit colleges that completely exploit them and milk them of their money and give them zero opportunities. He's not really going to do that to any significant extent, he revealed last night at the town hall.
My oldest son graduated after undergraduate and graduate school with $136,000 in debt after working 30 hours a week during school. My other son went to Georgetown and Yale Law School, graduated $142,000 in debt, and he worked for the parking service down in Washington. My daughter went to Tulane University and then got a master's at Penn. She graduated $103,000 in debt. So I don't think anybody should have to pay for that, but I do think you should be able to work it off. My daughter's a social worker. My other son ran the World Food Program USA, and so on. They didn't qualify. But my point is, I understand.
Hold on, pause it. Why didn't they qualify? If his daughter was just a social worker, I'm sorry, they have other wealth. Like, I don't even necessarily know. I am not trying to cast aspersions on his story here and his kid's experience. But yes, he may have said pay your own way through college. That may have been his kind of old school mentality. But the fact of the matter is his family has immense access to resources. Not the average family that's experiencing student debt. The average kid is not in the same stratosphere as what Joe Biden's kids are experiencing. But continue.
And so on. They didn't qualify. But my point is, I understand the impact of the debt, and it can be debilitating. And I think there's a whole question about what universities are doing. They don't need more skyboxes. What they need is more money invested in making. That's why I provide, for example, $80 billion, $70 billion over 10 years for HBCUs and other minority-serving universities, because they don't have the laboratories to be able to bring in those government contracts that can train people in cybersecurity or other future endeavors that pay well. But I do think that in this moment of economic pain and strain, that we should be eliminating interest on the debts that are accumulated, number one. And number two, I'm prepared to write off the $10,000 debt, but not 50.
Mr. President, let me ask you.
Because I don't think I have the authority to do it by sign of a pen.
That is total BS.
Yeah.
How do you think you have the authority by executive order to write off $10,000 but not $50,000? Where in the Constitution does that say, is that written? Where is that written? He's banking on people's ignorance about the issue. So this is what he's trying to do. He's threading this needle as like an old school debt-obsessed Democrat. This is what he made his bread and butter on. By the way, if students, if they had other protections, right, maybe this would be okay, like the ability to not go bankrupt on these. Oh, wait, you got rid of that stuff. So, I mean, like, this is completely arbitrary. He's trying to make it seem like $50,000, that can only come through the House and the Senate, which it's not going to, because it's not going to be able to pass through the filibuster. So he just wants to do a little bit by executive order, if he even does that at all, the $10,000 elimination. It's
Ken Klippenstein.
Nonsensical. Go on.
Ken Klippenstein had the all you need to say is somewhere between 10K and 50K it becomes illegal. And Biden's like, I think, like, yeah, this is just a lie, right? And it's the same thing with when Psaki, I don't know how to pronounce the name yet. said that, oh, we want to do 10K, but we want Congress to take the lead, which completely obscures the fact that Congress, and Schumer particularly, called for $50,000. So if you're going to take Congress's lead, which you pointed out why it's not really going to come out of it. Yeah, like it's just dishonesty to cover up, broken promises, or I don't know, not wanting. I don't know. They want to, I guess, let Schumer freelance because of his primary coming up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Schumer's making that determination. I think he's not going to fight Biden too hard on it, and they know that. And I think you're going to have some call outs by Ocasio-Cortez on Twitter, like we saw last night, and that's about it. And the Biden camp's okay with that. And, in the middle of this pandemic, I don't necessarily think in terms of like a political cost calculation that he's wrong, but it is wrong morally. It is an immoral position. And it's like this arbitrary desire by conservative Democrats like Biden to put restraints on oneself in order to appease some fiction of a moderate voter. I mean, most voters would be absolutely thrilled by the student debt. I mean, you're going to have old school people like saying, oh, well, I didn't have my debt eliminated, all of that. But like, no one's making their voting determinations on that.
Yeah. And I just think, I mean, he's a guy that's so internalized the purpose of these loans, which is to make people like labor stay coerced. So like he brags about his kids working 30 hours through college, and like, I'm sorry, I know semesters that I like worked and didn't work. And like when I came to NYU, I took out a massive amount of loans where I didn't have to work during the summer. I learned the most because I didn't have to go also work 30 hours a week somewhere for like parking cars or whatever he said his kid was doing. And that is ideologically a bipartisan thing that we need to keep people, especially these young people, we need them locked in. We need a promise on their labor. So either they'll have to go work in the high income field for some capitalists, or we'll do some public service thing, but those requirements are super onerous. This is all about control, right? It's entirely about control, and Biden wants that control to remain.
Yeah, and it's control under the guise of reasonability and legal hurdles, as if he just canceled it tomorrow. Say a Republican wins next time around, they're going to be like, we're reinstating those thousands of dollars of student loans that people are... And guys, the government makes money off this too. That's also what's so sick about it. They're the main profiter. Yeah, the federal government is the number one, as Matt said, profiter off of student loan debt. And when he also, I'm not finishing my points, but I meant to make this point. I have so much to say about this. He said that we're eliminating interest. No, like they're pausing interest right now. It's going to come back once the pandemic is over. And then the government will keep making money on it. Like, he just wants to put the plug in for a little bit on the cash flow to the federal government, and then take it out once things kind of calm down a little bit. I mean, that's what that is too. And it's really gross in my view.